Somebody asked me if Zoroastrianism is the precursor to Christianity. The answer, of course, is a big fat no, but I do appreciate the question. There's a common mistake that people who consider themselves to be occultists, esotericists, or some sort of weird pagan mystic philosophers, their method is to pick and choose what they like from different religions and philosophies and what have you. And they'll cherry pick these different things and try to force them together. And they say that because some of these themes are consistent, that therefore all of these things are consistent. Called the false cause fallacy. I have a hard time saying that. The thing you're saying caused it is false. There's some general themes like judgment and the battle of good versus evil that are sort of like the theme is there. There's no historical or textual evidence that actually ties these two things together. Superficial similarities do not equate to influence. There's a lot of other religions and philosophies that share these ideas. And the argument for that is that if the Bible is true, then the fundamentals that are expressed in the creation story and in especially the early part of the Bible, those should be patterns and themes that we see throughout the world and throughout all other cultures and ways of thinking. For example, most cultures have a story about a great flood. And what the occultists do, and this didn't even make sense to me when I was in this, they'll find the themes that are repeated often and they'll say, because this is happening over and over again, therefore it's not true, it's just symbolic. And that never made sense to me. Shouldn't that be evidence that it actually did happen? But you've got to remember where they're coming from. They think that all of these things are symbolically pointing to the same destination and that the truth has to be excavated from all of these various ideas and disciplines across time and culture. They find these things that are consistently demonstrated and say this has to be a symbol. But why? After the flood, Noah and his family basically repopulated the earth. Everyone spoke the same language and knew each other to some extent. So there's this large extended family that tries to build the Tower of Babel. That's when their language is confused and they're scattered around the world. Something like the flood is something that happened to everyone's history, so there should be something there. Of course, it gets distorted as time goes on. As language is confused, so are the details of the story. And of course, these people were worshiping demonic figures at the time, the same demonic figures. So of course, as culture changes and time changes, there's going to be slight variations in the way that those different principalities and authorities show up, which is why you see similarities between a lot of pagan philosophies. Yet in the middle of all that, you can see that the Bible is the one source of uncorrupted truth that has been preserved throughout time because it is the Word of God and He preserves His Word. It does not return to Him void. So yes, the patterns that are laid out in Genesis are going to repeat elsewhere. Yes, there's these core human experiences that we can all fundamentally relate to, and we can trace that back to God's established order. Let's also remember that God came to us as a Jewish rabbi, not as a pagan priest.